Welcome, everybody, to the Infinite Lorcana podcast. We are on episode 8. My name is Jared Bertriani. I'm your host. With me is Zan Syed. Zan, say hi.
Hello.
And then we have a special guest today. We have Chris Anderson from the SCG fame. Chris, say hi to everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Amazing, amazing. So Chris Anderson is a Lorcana grinder. He has experienced some success with the blue-red deck, sort of the Lucky Dime combo deck is what I call it. Chris, what do you call the deck?
I call it Is It Pops because I'm a wizard, and we in the business call blue-red decks Is It. But it can be Sapphire Ruby, it can be blue-red. You can call it Great because that's what it is too. But any of the above.
Great. So we like to start our podcast with a little bit of a snapshot of the metagame. This is for listeners who just want to get in, get the metagame, get out. So since we have the blue-red expert in, let's ask you, Chris, where do you think blue-red sits in the metagame right now?
Well, I would have told you a week ago after I won the event that it's just like a one of a rock, paper, scissors metagame with purple red in the middle, where you can turn 2 purple red to beat anything that you want it to, really. But you can't really get it higher than like a 60-40, 62-38, play skill independent. It's just one of those decks that kind of sits in the middle of a metagame, which I think is a really healthy place to be. And then all around it, you have steel decks, which beat emerald decks, which beat sapphire decks, kind of. And then it's not just those 3 decks, obviously, because there's some overlap, there's emerald steel. Is that a steel deck or an emerald deck? Well, it depends on if you're playing Bucky or if you're playing Prince John, Sapphire steel is both a sapphire deck and a steel deck. So, but now I think that Sapphire Ruby, as of a few days ago, Savit and Moyen have found how far I go. And I think that's kind of changed everything. And we don't exactly know what's going to happen yet. I think we're going to need another big tournament to really see where the chips all fall. Of course, we had 200 smaller tournaments. So we're going to get some interesting information out of that. But I think we're really going to know after another large tournament. But how far I go gave the Sapphire Ruby deck a massive shot in the arm. I think it improved the purple-red matchup by a lot. I think it improved the Emerald Steel discard matchup to the point where it's close to 50-50. And I think it's going to work the metagame. It still has a bad matchup in Emerald Amethyst. And Emerald Amethyst, I think, is also gaining a lot of stock right now. So we'll see kind of what emerges based on these developments.
Sort of the biggest tournament coming up is going to be the challenge. So hopefully we can get an insight into the metagame before then. But Zan, this is your podcast. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? How does Chris stand?
I mean, Chris was a major dent into the metagame because until you won, Blue Red hadn't had its heyday yet, like its major tournament. And I mean, this is where play skill really shines. My thing about the deck is I feel like it has limits, just because of I think that you and Savich and some of the no, I think both of you guys are probably the only ones that have started playing the deck close to perfect, just because it's a blue-white control deck. There's only so many lines that you can take. I just think that I think it's reaching its peak, and people are starting to figure out a way around it. So I think there's going to be a lot more hostility around the deck. I feel like today was the biggest turning point. I watched Savich's stream. I also ended up playing against Savich to try to hit the number 1 hardcore spot. And I lost the die roll. So I was at 1580, and Moyen got 1588, and I needed to win 2 in a row, and I got paired against blue red twice playing yellow steel songs. I lost the die roll, ended up I think I 2-0'd it the first time, and then 2-1'd against Savich. And I just feel like that's supposed to be my worst matchup as the yellow steel player, but I feel like if my deck is capable of adapting to it, which I would say I was in the worst spot with that deck, like I feel like the bunny is important, but now that we're playing flutes again, the flute has become a threat, and there's like not enough room in the deck to answer discard plus the new angle that a lot of these other decks are taking. That's my take, but I think that like like one of the great players like Chris or Savich could easily just dominate any field with it. It's like such a punishing deck. When I was watching Savich and he played against someone who's bad playing yellow steel, they cast a whole new world and just gave Savich a chance to win a game that was impossible unless the opponent allowed that to happen. And so once people figure out like, hey, they're running out of cards, I would rather just play with the top of their deck rather than give them a fresh 7. It gives me a higher chance of winning. Things start to turn around.
All right, awesome. And so, Chris, you talked about the rock paper scissors metagame. Just give me a real quick breakdown. If I'm playing blue red at a set championship, what matchups am I super excited to see? And then what matchups am I like, oh my god, I can't believe it. I've been playing a lot of Emerald Amethyst, so I know Emerald Amethyst isn't great for you guys. So yeah, just real quick, what's the breakdown for that?
For me personally, and honestly, this kind of changes a bit depending on like where you feel your skill is as a player, I think. And this is to add to what Sam was talking about. Like, this game is really, really hard. You know, any game where you're putting your cards as your mana system and your resources are like incredibly difficult. You have to think really far ahead. You have to understand the roles of all of your cards, how they line up against their cards in the future, how likely they're going to be effective, how likely they're going to be like, you know, a little bit effective, a lot effective, whether it's worth it. And you can lose and win games regularly by making one wrong decision in that situation. So like how good a matchup is going to be, one matchup between like two average players will be wildly different from a percentage points than like two strong players. And it's kind of like, for example, I haven't played a ton of matches against Steel Songs as Blue Red against really strong players. I played Brennan once in the tournament last week. Zan, I don't think we've gotten to play yet on ladder. And, you know, I played a few people, but for the most part, like, they're making mistakes. And as soon as they make one mistake, they're dead. You know, they really have to play perfectly. And once they're there, like, yeah, that matchup's close. But, like, I can make mistakes. Or the blue-red player can make mistakes. And the things that it does is so powerful. And the Steel Songs player basically just needs to play perfect to get caught up. So given that both players play perfectly, that matchup is different than given both players make like 3 mistakes a game, something like that. So what you want to see depends on how good you are, basically, which is, you know, I don't know how helpful that is, but I would say like an average blue-red player probably just wants to see anything other than Chris Merkel on the other side of the board. And they're pretty happy for the most part.
Great.
But yeah, Emerald Amethyst is pretty tough. Even if you play the game perfectly, like you're still probably a dog. Emerald Steel Discard, not so tough. As long as you play perfectly. If you're making mistakes as the blue-red player, though, you're in trouble. And Emerald Steel Bucky is kind of a cakewalk.
One of the things that I know Zan and I like to do when we're looking at, like, I guess decks specifically, is we get, like, obsessed with, like, a really bad matchup. And we're like, oh, but if you play it this way, you have these certain cards, you mulligan really hard for the fishhook or whatever it is. It, like, becomes a good matchup, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I love to hear that kind of stuff. I mean, I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. I think one of the keys to cracking these sorts of metagames is to just figure out a way to make your bad matchup a 50-50, and then you've got a huge edge on the field, and that's how you win tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you know, I gotta say, congratulations. You won one of the biggest Lorcana tournaments of all time. You won Thea BC's 10K. What was that like?
Thanks. I felt very, very lucky, first off. I feel like I didn't play too well near the end of the day. I think day one I played great. Day two I played okay, and then just progressively worse as the day went on. My brain was just atrophying because I'm an old man. But luckily the top of my deck bailed me out a couple of times. And yeah, felt very humbled by everybody's positive, you know, support. It's been a long time since I've gotten to play card games at a high level and be successful in card games, and it was really cool to see everybody supporting me all these years later.
Yeah, I had no idea that you had were playing, and when I saw that you had won, I was like so excited because I was just like, okay, like we're bringing back, like the 2010, 2015 era
Yeah.
of Magic where it was so skill intensive. But this game honestly is just like an evolution of Magic. And so when you say that you got so lucky, I think I'm gonna call BS on that. Like you, like I 100% believe that, like you got to be playing X better than everybody else to be in that position.
It's possible. I don't know. I watched my games back again after the event was over, and I just like watched myself just do a bunch of dumb stuff that like some game losing dumb stuff. Like I inked a be prepared, and then they dropped a bell the next turn that they didn't have an answer for, and then just ripped a Maleficent off the top of my deck to bail me out. I was just dead if I didn't get an answer to it.
Yeah,
And I
but you
had
doing
there was
that
no
is,
reason for me to ink that be prepared. That was the issue.
but you doing that is what separates you from the pack in the first place. You're like ahead of 99% of players. The fact that you went back and were like, "Hey, I didn't play perfect." It's already like you're already course correcting, so it doesn't.
Sure, sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, when Zan says doing that, he's referring to watching the tapes. I mean, watching the tapes is
Oh
huge.
yeah, it's important. So like yeah, for everybody at home, if you want to get better, like fast, record your Pixelborn games. Download OBS right now before you play another game with Pixelborn, and hit the record button. Play a game, hit the stop record button. Watch your game over again with a friend. Talk it through. Like pause the game. This is why I did this thing this turn. Friend says, "Oh, this is interesting. Did you consider this and this and this?" Go through all your plays. That's how you get better fast.
Yeah. You started a
Uh,
YouTube channel after this too, right?
I have not. No.
No. Oh, okay.
I've been thinking about it. Maybe doing some coaching. Maybe doing some YouTube. I am between jobs right now, so I've got the time to. But I'm also trying to like learn some SQL stuff. Try to get a DA gig. So I'm a little bit torn between doing the fun thing and doing the responsible thing.
I mean, you're already rewatching your matches, so it's like
That's fair, but
Yeah,
that's just fun for me.
I know.
That's how I interface with card games.
No, I totally feel it. Totally feel it and respect it.
I've been surprised because I feel like the Lorcana sort of, I guess you would maybe say, community has been a little more open to that type of attitude for it. Like we found a group of guys at the local game store that are like trying to watch their tapes and get better. And I remember in Magic there was like a little bit of like some other stuff going on. People weren't into that the same way I feel like they are in Lorcana.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
For sure.
And there's a couple of times in Magic where I talked about potential other lines and people were not.
Yeah, it's in my own zone. It doesn't matter.
It's like I'm like,
Oh
what?
man. So we're talking about Magic. We're like, let's just move into something I really wanted to talk to you about. Let's let the listeners get to know you a little bit, Chris. So talk to me about when you got into card games and what your history of card games were. I know you had a big Kaijudo phase, so just let's
Yeah.
talk about that whole thing.
Sure, yeah, did dabbled in a bit of Kaijudo. That was our first ever encounter with some Kaijudo, so represent. But no, I am an actual dinosaur, like the primeval, like old god, whatever. My dad dragged me around to Magic tournaments when I was 4 years old.
Oh, nice.
He had a four-digit DCI number. For all those who know what that means, that's some 1993 stuff. But so I probably played nothing but limited because my dad was just a one-trick limited player. He loved sealed deck. I would go to sealed PTQs and like Tempest, Mirage. There's a Saga block, so I would go to those. Never really did that well, but I was learning the game. Basically, it taught me how to read. So when I did KSS stuff when I was like 14, 15, got a little bit older, and fell in love with constructed. I guess when you're force fed limited for 10 years, like limited's great. Don't get me wrong; it's the purest form of the game. But when I didn't get to play constructed, and then I finally did, I was playing against kids when I finally did, and that's when I really had my first success. I was like, oh yeah, this is what really got me hooked. And played a decent amount through high school, but then really didn't get started to like traveling to things until the summer after I graduated high school. So that would be I think Eventide was the newest set that came out. So they had U.S. Nationals in Chicago, and I played the Scred Red deck, except I didn't have Screds in my deck. I had Guns instead because I didn't know about Scred.
Mm-hmm.
But I grinded into Nationals and then ran the Constructed for that, and did terrible at Limited because I hadn't touched a 40 card deck since I started doing JSS. Basically, didn't know the format at all. Wasn't expecting to need to know it because I wasn't qualified for the event. But that got me qualified for PT Berlin on rating. Didn't get to go because he didn't get flights for those back then. And at that point, I was just hooked and like traveling to as many things as I could. Try to go to Grand Prix, go to all the PTTs I could drive to. And then a few years after that, Star City Games started doing the open cash events. And I'm from the Midwest, Indianapolis. So Indianapolis is an amazing city to travel to Star City events because Star City did basically ran their events in the Midwest, the Southeast, and the New England area. Whereas Grand Prix are all over the world. You usually have to fly to Grand Prix. I could just drive to the Star Cities. So that's really where I gravitated to. It was a lot cheaper to go do a Star City weekend than it was to go fly to Seattle to play in a Grand Prix or something like that. So played in Star Cities for since they started. I think that was what like around 2010ish or 2011, something like that. And really went all in on that in like 2015, 2016. That was, and then after 2016, I kind of retired. I was burnt out a lot and wasn't having quite as much fun anymore. I had built a team. I think Jim Davis and I kind of got started with the teams on the Star City Open Series, and I had kind of sold my team to a card hoarder. I didn't really sell it myself, but I got all the homies paid that were on the team. So to me, that was a success. And at that point, I was just like, ready to move on, do something else. And yeah, so that was kind of, I played a little bit of Magic since then, at home though, not really trying to qualify for anything. If I accidentally do something, then that's great, but not aggressively trying to get on the train or anything like that. But yeah, that's kind of my history of Magic. Had had a decent amount of success, nowhere near world class, but it's one of the best on the Star City circuit. So I can be proud of that.
Yeah, you certainly were. Definitely one of my inspirations for starting a team as well.
Yeah, glad to hear that. I'm glad that you kept the name. I love my team name was Lotus, and I really thought it was a great team name, and I was really happy to see you kind of carried that on afterwards.
Our actual team name was Moxbox, but
Okay.
the word Mox was like one of those words that we couldn't use, like because of
Oh, was it
copyright.
copyrighted
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or something?
So
Yeah, that's right.
we had to change, and so we went through just the Magic Dictionary, and Lotus was kind of the only thing that fit and that wasn't taken up, and so we were kind of forced to change it. But we were originally Moxbox, and we were that for like the first event. We actually sponsored Ben Friedman's team first for one of the pro tours, and they went in
Okay.
as Moxbox, and it felt really bad because we made jerseys and everything. And then when
Oh,
I
and they just made you change it all. That's
they made
awful.
it, yeah. So it wasn't that wasn't supposed to be our original name. It was just kind of like we kind of didn't have a choice. We tried so many other things, and then since you guys had moved on to Card Hoarder, we were like, okay, we got like this is our kind of only thing that just fits in the Moxbox mold. But the
Sure.
LLC is still Moxbox LLC, but we operated as
Okay.
Lotus Box, so we could. So yeah, that was the story because I like we changed the name out of desperation, and I was like, oh fuck, people are gonna think we were that I'm like trying to step on your feet, and that was
No, I was
totally
nowhere. No, I was just like,
yeah.
yes, the name was fine. I'm
But
always of the ideology, just like give it away. I want the idea to exist out there. I don't care about credit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, other people were like speaking the narrative, and I was like, guys, this is not like my intention at all. So, but yeah, like glad to like finally talk to you about it.
Yeah,
But
you definitely have my best in that. And some.
okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, where I've heard all like where I felt like I finally had like a connection to was through Clay Spickelmeyer.
Yeah,
Great kid, great player, just a great human
mhm,
overall. And so,
definitely.
but yeah,
Not so much a kid anymore. I played Clay Spiegelmeyer, I think, last
Mhm.
November in Cube Draft. I totally beat it.
That's impressive.
wow.
The kid's a wizard.
But
He's probably he may be the most talented player to come out of the state of Indiana. It's either him or Spencer.
mm, but one thing I was like shocked when I saw him because it was like sort of that like uncle that hasn't seen somebody in forever response. I was like, "You've gotten big." I was like, "Oh my god."
Is he still the youngest Grand Prix champion?
Hmm.
I think they quit doing Grand Prix.
That one, right? I guess
Yeah.
they have. Yeah, they're like Magic Fests now. I'd say if you win can you win a Magic Fest? Is that even possible?
I think whoever has the best costume wins the Magic Fest.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm
But
completely
did he
retired.
start with his Grand Prix win?
I think he's got it locked forever.
Well, no. I mean, like, have you heard what happened?
No.
He was going through chemo.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah.
He finished chemo 2 weeks before that Grand Prix ended, and then won the Grand Prix. Like while he was doing chemo, he was just motoring all the time.
Yeah.
And then like, he won that Grand Prix by beating Joe Lissette in the finals, dealing 21 damage with a Noble Hierarch.
Yeah, I was standing right behind him.
Yeah. It was like it was a Hallmark movie without a doubt.
Yeah. No, I was also playing Infect at that same tournament. I think I got 10th.
Okay, yeah, that was a great choice for that weekend.
So yeah, I was standing behind him. I was like, dang, I'm just like one away from being here with him. And then when he won, I was like, yeah, I was so pumped. At the time we weren't friends yet, but I was just like, Magic's so freaking amazing. Look at this kid, so inspirational. And playing out of his mind, so it was awesome.
For sure. He beat Jarvis in that top 8 on lands too, which was a nightmare matchup.
Ooh, yeah, in fact, lands not a good one. So, like I touched on before, you played a little bit of Kaijudo, and now you're playing Lorcana. So, are you fully card game agnostic? Is there something that draws you to card games? What is it?
Sure. Well, I got dragged into Kaijudo by Jerry T. I was living in Roanoke at the time, and he was playing that game, and I just watched him play. I was like, "This game's sweet. Yeah, teach me how to play." So he did, and we kind of traveled around to some events, played in those, and it was a lot of fun. And I really like games where you ink your mana, or the mana system is inking. I think the original one was Marvel versus System. It was like way back. Babs PCG had it. Kaijudo had it. It's something as like the game designer in me is a little bit wary because it is a really difficult to master system. So newer players are going to have a hard time, winning that 30% of the games in order to feel like they're having fun, because if a new player comes into the game, gets beat by somebody who's just like a stronger player over and over again, they're not going to want to keep playing. So that's always kind of worried me about these games. And a lot of times, like Versus System, I think the death of it was pushed for competitive play over the top. The prizes were great for those events. But like the same 5 or 6 people won every single tournament because like the skill level was so high.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit worried about Lorcana when it came to that, but it seems like everybody's loving it. It's doing a great job as a casual game, and so I'm really excited that it seems to be picking up pace despite that. Because as a strategy or as a strategist, as somebody who enjoys playing games, I love those mana systems. I'd love to play games like that. So. It's really cool to see. But the reason I actually picked up Lorcana, the main reason, is my little brother, he played Junior Super Series with me, the JSS, way back when we were both kids. But once he turned 16 and was too old for it, for those of you who don't know, JSS, or the Junior Super Series, it's a relic in Magic's history. where there was tournaments for kids ages 15 and under, and they played for scholarship money and invites to the Junior Super Series Championship, which was held during Nationals weekend. So there was like coverage for it. It was like if you were a kid, you were getting into card games, getting into Magic. It was a great opportunity to introduce you to competitive play. You got to see like some of the best players in the country play at the JSS Championships. You had an opportunity to actually win money, and you weren't just getting like beat by people who were like 10 years older than you. So it was a great opportunity, and it helped me get into competitive card games. Helped a lot of other kids. There's multiple people that work at Wizards of the Coast right now that were JSS kids. Like I know Gavin was, I think Ben Hayes was, I'm not sure. But yeah, it was a great program when it was running. But yeah, my brother was a JSS kid, but once he got too old for it, he didn't really want to play card games anymore. He, was a high school kid. He got into music instead and just moved different ways. But he picked up Lorcana at Gen Con last year. So my dad started selling board games. He had a booth at Gen Con, and my brother and his girlfriend were helping him sell games. And Lorcana was this huge hype thing at Gen Con this year. It was the thing. So they saw that hype and were like, "Oh, this is cool." Or, got some cards, like, "This is awesome," and they started getting into it. And I was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take an opportunity, bond with my brother, play some card games." It's been 20 years since we've gotten to do that, and it's been amazing. While we're at it, I guess I accidentally won a 10K. But the main reason I'm playing this game is to hang out with him, to talk card strategy with him, and we've been having a lot of fun. He actually just won, or he top four at his store championships.
Yeah, you got a Stitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought you were hanging out with your family this weekend and couldn't go to any store championships. It's odd that your brother didn't have the same problem.
So I was spending time with my girlfriend's family.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was in Canada, and but he got to play. He lives in Nashville. So yeah, my event is coming next Saturday. So
one thing that really stood out to me as you told that story when you did the history of the JSS. Am I wrong about this, or is Lorcana absolutely perfect for a JSS?
I think so. So JSS is really cool, but there's another side to the coin where if you introduce competitive gaming with high stakes prizes on the lines to a bunch of children, you are inevitably going to walk away with crying children. That's rough. Losing winning ends, getting angle shot by another kid, the dark underground of competitive card games that we all kind of know exists in some form or another. When that happens to kids, that's a really feel bad moment for them. And when big prizes are on the line, sometimes that can happen. So I know that was one of the reasons that Wizards said that they didn't continue the program. That being said, I think it does a lot more good than harm. I think it gets, kids interested in the game a lot more. I don't have all of the data in terms of numbers on like casual versus competitive and what proportion of the community Ravensburger/Wizards would want their game to be casual, competitive, et cetera, in terms of making that program. And also, it doesn't have to be Ravensburger that puts these programs together, I would assume, right? Like,
yeah,
anybody can make scholarship tournaments. But I think it would be really, really cool if they brought that back for any game, honestly. And Disney, I agree with you, is the perfect game to do that because it's Disney.
It's Disney.
I have a bit of a controversial take. I'm gonna say that I don't think that divisions are good for the game. I actually think that one of the strongest things that Lorcana has going for is there's only one way to play. And I think that, like, if you look at the way the chess community is, or if you we'll start off with Fortnite first. The kids are a lot better than the adults. And I think one of the primary reasons is they have more time. And I think that with YouTube, they have more time to also learn and just get better than the adults. And so that game obviously it's a game aimed for kids, but if you think about when the game first came out, there's a ton of adults in the game, and they've slowly been like etched out. And So now when you move over to chess, which is a legacy game, and you see all the insane kids that are dominating, like one of them being the one who just got qualified for like the world championship, right? He won FIDE. Um, I can't remember how old he is, but he was the youngest person to qualify for FIDE in the first place. I think at 17 or something like that. I don't know how old Gukesh is, but I think that the same thing is true for Lorcana. I think that this is how we're gonna get like the next generation of players. Is I think kids have more time to learn and they can play Pixelborn more often. They can see more YouTube content, digest it, and then go to their local store and compete against anybody and everybody. And we actually end up getting like the best of the best from that, because I think there isn't a division when you look at chess.com, right? And I think that's where majority of the kids are getting their majority of their games. And so I think that creating divisions will slow down their growth and make that transition worse and create all sorts of problems. I think that we should all be in it together, and I think that the adults should be the ones that should be like held to another standard and be looked at by judges to make sure that like kids and other people are like feel included in it, you know, so in the game. So
okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. I would imagine the Pokemon TCG is probably a really good case study for that, because I know that they have divisions for their events. I'm interested to see, you know, what the effect that has had on the game throughout its history, and you know whether it's a positive or a negative overall.
Even
But I
chess,
can definitely see it going either way.
even chess has juniors and seniors, you know, and that doesn't interrupt the fact that there's only one way to play, which I agree I really like about Lorcana. I think that part of the reason the community is so welcoming to the types of discussions we like to have about card games is because there isn't basically even another format where people could be like, yeah, but at this one we just like 7 drops. You know what I mean? It's just like, no, yeah, what's the best way to win? And we're all playing the same game, and I think that's just really cool. So it's interesting to think about his divisions in Lorcana. I think we'd be good for it. Zan apparently just wants to farm children.
no, the point I'm gonna make is that since chess.com has become the primary way to play instead of chess clubs, what we are seeing now is women catching up to men, and kids catching up to the adults, right? Like the ages are getting younger and younger, and so I think that division is just bad, right? Like if you think about even basketball, Luka was, if you guys are unfamiliar, Luka Doncic is
Yeah, he was the Euro MVP at 16.
exactly, and he was forced to play with adults, and that ended up making a generational talent who's now playing in the NBA, and I think that the only way you can get that is by playing against the best of the best, no matter who it is. I think the divisions is just going to make weaker players. Obviously, you know, I do think that there's a physical element to sports, and so like I agree on like the division of like men's and women's tennis or men's and women's basketball, but I think that like mentally, I think that we're all at similar enough levels from birth, and that anybody has capability of progressing in the game.
I want to move on to our next topic. I want to talk a little bit about the set championships. Zan and I played all weekend. I know Chris is planning to tackle it next weekend, but let's talk about it a little bit. So Zan and I played 3 tournaments. We went to each of the same tournaments. Zan, did you have a good time?
I mean, I had a fantastic time. I mean, I had less of a good time on Friday just because I played Blue Steel, and I think that deck is very, very bad. I'm surprised I top forward with it.
The reveal at the end.
I want to talk about Blue Steel a little bit before the end.
Yeah. I think you should jump in right now. Just jump in right now.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
Well, I want to see how far I will go. I think that card is incredibly powerful, and I don't think it should just be limited to blue red. I think that it could be good in blue steel. I think it could be good in blue purple.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if blue purple is good, but Rabbit and Goat are perfect at singing that card. So, but Blue Steel, I don't know, like, I don't like it as a wheel deck. Fundamentally, wheel is a card where you want to be proactive and you want to maintain the momentum as you go through the game. You know, you want to dump your resources. And while it does work well with Fishbone Quill, it doesn't really work well with any of the rest of the cards in that deck. You're spending all of your deck's macro strategy gaining control of the board, you know, putting your opponent on less resources while you have more, all to just sing a song that refills them back up, you know, and hopefully you have the momentum to be able to just like finish a game from there, but not always. And if you're playing How Far I'll Go instead, maybe not completely instead, maybe keep, you know, Whole New World as a 2 of, I don't know exactly, because you can just fish the ones in the games where you don't need it. But How Far I'll Go it's very similar to Friends on the Other Side in terms of power level. So, and Flaversham isn't quite as good in Blue Steel. But that gives it another thing to do in this deck. You know, it gives your bells another thing to do before like your late game bells. Obviously, the payoff. Why do you want to put it in the deck? Early game bells, like that's a bad ramp card. You know, you'd rather not play it. But, like, if you can untap and How Far I'll Go, it has a little bit of extra utility. You know, your 5 drops can all sing it really well. You can go turn 3 Robin Hood, sing How Far I'll Go right off the bat. That's super powerful. And yeah, I think that it makes more sense in the deck. It allows you to build a more cohesive arc, you know, a thing that works together a little bit better than building the deck around a Whole New World. Albeit, it is, well, How Far I'll Go is a powerful card. It is nowhere near as powerful as Whole New World. That card is a good deal more powerful than everything else in the game. But I'm fascinated to see what I can do with it. And that might end up being what I play this weekend if things go well.
No,
testing this week.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that that makes all of the sense. My biggest complaint is it's just a worse Whole New World deck, and I think that the other decks have like tried to adapt to Whole New World decks by lowering their curve. If you look at Red Purple, they're not playing 9-mana Maleficent, so it makes all of the sense. I will say, okay, here I'm gonna add on to the idea. I would love to see. So there's so much pressure on Hiram to do its thing that I would want another form of card draw, and I think that I would probably include some copies of, you know, the 2-mana steel item that says if your hand is empty, you may pay 3 to draw a card.
Beast Mirror.
Yeah, I would probably include like 1 or 2 copies of that, just because like I don't want to cast. I completely agree. Whole New World it's just a bad Whole New World deck. It's just so bothersome.
What do you think of Grandma Paul and 4 drops?
Oh, I love that card. I love that card so much.
You play that in addition, so you have like 10 4 drops, and like probably maybe like 2 grab your swords at the most, and probably no, like, just not as many 5 drops. I don't know if you want cogs in your deck even at this point, but just like a bunch of 4 drops and like Zeus's and How Far I'll Goes.
Yeah,
and then,
I love it.
You know, you can go like you're 1 jump ahead, so you go 2 drop into 4 drop, and then next turn you sing with your 4 drop.
Going up to 4 Tamatoas.
Yeah, 4 Tamatoa deck. It's basically just a blue steel deck, but it has like good cheap removal, so you can actually deal with the green.
Dang, I want to play right now.
Yeah.
Okay, boys. Get back to the podcast. That was that's pretty sick though. That deck does sound good. I agree with most of those notions. I think my thought on that would be like fundamentally the thesis of Blue Steel has always been if you Whole New World and you have 12 mana while they have 6 or whatever, you'll be able to do twice as much stuff. But I really like that. Yeah, I mean, what you were saying makes a lot of sense. So that's like
better. Because the deck is not great.
Exactly. So I kind of like all the stuff that you said. It sounds like we know what we're testing all after this. Set championships, by the way, Chris, are so fun. They're crazy fun.
Oh, yeah.
I've been having a lot of fun via osmosis from all of my friends. I wasn't playing any this weekend, but I was just on my phone, you know, talking to a bunch of guys from all over the place, all over the Midwest, and my brother, some people who decided to play my blue-red deck and just having a lot of fun hearing their results, hearing how it was going, good matchups, bad matchups, the whole 9 yards.
I'm going to explain like what it is that's so different from this in a Magic tournament. If you went to a Magic tournament, like you went to at a local game store, that's important. So let's say you go to an SPG IQ. Yeah, RCQ or an IQ. The store is sort of on the hook for providing that prize payout, right? So if it's like a 1K or a 2K, $400 first place or whatever, and 12 people show up, there's this looming specter of like a game store owner in the background that's just like, they just lost everything. It's like terrible. What Ravensburger has done with the printing of these promo cards is it takes that off the store. So the store is just like happy to run an event. They're like $20, whatever. Everybody shows up, but you're actually playing for really good stakes, right? So they asked me Friday what I thought a stitch would be worth, and this was like Friday morning, right? So I'm like, I don't know, $300, and Sam was like, yeah, probably about $300. So we win one on. I win one Friday night. Zan won one Friday night. Yay, good job. And it was actually, that was the hardest tournament we played all weekend because it was all the like hitters at our local game store that are basically friends with us.
Living in the city in the world for Lorcana.
Yeah.
So I have to assume that.
Oh yeah.
Kendall Burdett was also in the top one. That guy's
he beat me. Yeah, I was like, dude, you have a buy. Like this deck is like so garbage. I hate it.
Because Amazon Blue Steel. And so we went, and then one of my friends leans over to me. He's like, "Hey, that guy at the counter, he'll probably give you $1,000 right now for that stitch." I was like, "No way!" And it like blew my mind that I could win that much in a local game store.
For real, yeah. That also blew my mind. Similar story for me. Obviously, I wasn't there, to experience it firsthand. But like, I thought it was gonna be about $250, something like that. And then I see this screenshot of an eBay thing where there's a stitch that's over $1,000 with 28 bids on it, and another picture where there's like sold, buy it now, $1,200, $1,150. And I'm just like, what is going on? Did the game just pop off?
Yeah, Jeremy sold it right then and there for $1,000 without even leaving the store.
Yeah, there's a guy right. He Venmo'd me. It was sick.
Yeah, I sold mine that night for $925, and then I ended up winning one won like our like bigger one on Sunday, and that was they gave us a box. The mat is now $600. I don't even get it. The champion mat is $600, and then I already sold the stitch for $900.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's $1,825 for playing in IQs, and I still have at least $700 more dollars that I need to offload. It's like, what is happening? It's crazy.
I'm totally shocked, honestly. Like Zan and I had a couple phone calls over the weekend where we were like, so I was gonna skip Saturday, but now I'm not. I'm not gonna ever do that. And are you down to drive to Tennessee on Wednesday? We found one on Wednesday. That was like our conversation. So, but it's just really great. They were electric. They were invigorating. Zan, in the finals of he was playing the Yellow Steel Mirror, and they both played down to like 2 cards in their deck.
One card.
One card in their deck. And I don't know if you've ever played against Zan, but his opponent was like, "Please let me go. I can't do it anymore." And Zan was just like drawing his cards. Like he didn't care at all. It was so funny to watch because it was like, Zan, just go easy on him. I don't know why.
It was a big tournament because we showed up at 9, and then it was 10:45 when we left. So we're there all like it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was like really tough because it's like I created my own problems. The finals was my 60 of Pride Lands, and then I was playing Flute because everybody was playing red purple, and so he played all 4 Pride Lands, and I had to like he was up. It was like he was at 15 lore, and I was at 9, and I just had to just keep. And I was down a game, and I was like, holy fuck, we just have to like truck through this. And it took like, if I made one error and I played 59 cards, and it really sucked because I had 2 Storm the Rage on at the bottom of my deck, and then I only had 2 cards left in deck, right? So I had to use one, but I couldn't use the second one because I die. And so it was like, just like, it was the like the toughest game ever. I literally had to like, yeah, I literally after the game I was like, all right, I need to go use the bathroom. And then game 3, I just completely smashed my, like I felt like my opponent must have been so freaking exhausted because I felt exhausted, but I have so much experience in these type of situations. Um,
Yeah, it was definitely your opponent's like kind of first bite at the apple, and then he was against you, and he just played through his whole deck. And I could, like when you went to the bathroom, he was like, "I'm so tired." I was like, "Sorry, buddy, Zan's not."
there's there's a level of decision fatigue that this game gives you that Magic has never made me feel, and
that's the issue of rowing or aping cards. Honestly, it's you have to plan everything out so far ahead. Make one mistake, you're dead. Like it's just such a deep game.
I love it. I like.
Same.
I couldn't imagine not playing Magic. I was like, I'm gonna play Magic my whole life, and then now I'm like, you can't pay me to play Magic. I just won't do it.
The last bets have been Clue and Cowboys, I guess. I don't know what's going on.
Me neither. I sold everything. I sold everything.
I mean, I've just been saying Magic's cooked, and that's been everyone's been happily like, yeah, it's cooked. They got Jason a cowboy hat. It's fine. It's whatever. Let them have fun with their weird game, and we'll play Magic. We'll play Lorcana. It's great.
We're in a renaissance. If you haven't tried Star Wars Unlimited, you got to try it. It's really good.
I've heard good things about that game too.
You're gonna love Star Wars, especially when you were like, I like resourcing. I was like, oh, buddy, like Star Wars is sick. The second set's gonna have a mechanic where you can like play cards out of your resource zone, which isn't that just the cat's pajamas? And so it's gonna be. I want you to call it right here on this podcast. How many set championships are you playing? How many stitches are you winning?
1 and 1. I can't say I'm gonna win 0. I'm only playing 1. I wish I could play more, but there was one on Friday that I could have that I can waitlist for, but the top 8's being played Saturday morning instead.
What?
Yeah, so that would cut into being able to play in the Saturday one that I did get signed up for, and then there's just nothing in my city on Sunday.
We have one on Wednesday.
Yeah, we have one Wednesday.
Oh, there was one on Monday night last night.
Yeah.
That started at like 7 p.m. and ended at like 3 a.m. Monday, which was wild to me. But yeah, I was I woke up at 4 a.m. today and drove back from Toronto.
Oh,
so,
dang.
Didn't get to play in. Almost all of the Indianapolis ones were this past weekend.
Sad. Yeah.
So I guess it's a bit of a sidebar, but I'm trying to figure out what to play. You'd think it'd be an easy I'm just gonna play Blue Red. Play Blue Red. It's like one of the best decks. I know how to play it really well. But one of the best Magic players in my city just picked up Lorcana. Like, I don't know if it was a week ago or not. I didn't know he was playing until a week ago. And he was just like, yeah, I'm just here and playing green purple and just beating everybody. I was like, I don't know if he targeted me or not on it, but like, I don't think I can beat him as a blue red player on green purple because he's very good at card games. So
who is this person? You got a name drop now.
Yeah. Shout out to James Mossel.
James Mossel.
I don't know if you know him. He didn't start playing until around post COVID, but he's a really strong wizard from Indianapolis. And I don't know if I can beat him as a blue red player if he's playing purple green. If he's anywhere near as good at Lorcana as he is in Magic. And he just showed up to like a 50-person store last weekend and beat everybody on green purple, including 2 blue steel decks, which played by 2 Magic players. So and that's supposed to be a tough matchup, I believe. I don't know. I haven't played a ton of green purple myself, but looking at discords and stuff, just like getting information about the deck, the green purple players seem to not like their blue steel matchup, but he just played through them.
I played blue. I played against blue purple in top 8 of mine.
Is it blurple or green purple?
Blurple.
Blurple, okay. Yeah.
While I was playing blue steel, I beat it. Yeah.
Sure. Oh no! I'm saying green purple. Not,
green purple. Green. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I know.
Oh, the hard counter to that is just yellow steel. They can. It's like.
I don't have yellow steel cards, so I'm gonna have to find them. And also.
Bro, you're famous. You're famous. Put it on Twitter.
Yeah, there's a bunch of blue red in my city too, and if I knew how to play the deck at a high level and had been practicing and practicing, I'd be cool with it. But I've got like very few reps on the deck. It's not really where I spent my energy.
Okay, so what else could you play besides? I mean, the hard counter to that deck.
That's what I was thinking about for brewing that blue steel deck.
The blue steel deck sounds like your answer. You know, teach him that you still got some tricks up your sleeve.
I mean, the cannons are
blue steel.
The cannons are great. I mean, just play all the cannons.
I'm gonna be playing some smashes. I don't like that card, but it's probably the only good answer to Ursula on curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should do that. I'm trying to tell you that you don't need to, but you like definitely do.
I dislike that card so much, but yeah, I get it.
But I don't know if there's any other good answers to it. I could also just pick up green purple myself and mirror match them. I'm okay with doing that. I think it's actually a really good deck.
Yeah, that's what Jeremy's. That's.
I've been playing it pretty much all day. Yeah.
So I basically own like all of the cards in Lorcana, and basically, Jeremy and I always have to play opposites because Jeremy owns all of Star Wars, and I play the opposite of him in Star Wars, and then I own all of Lorcana, and he has to play the opposite of whatever I play, and so, so Friday I played blue steel, so he played purple red, and then Saturday he played purple red, and I just played yellow steel.
It's convenient that Lorcana's deck building restrictions are that you can only choose 2 colors. There's literally no overlapping cards.
Yeah, right now I own 4 colors. I don't have green cards and I don't have yellow cards. Although I have almost all the green cards. I'm 1 Ursula away from all the green cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes Amber Steel kind of a tough option for me.
Yeah, I do think that it's a good time to pick up green steel. There was a dip in it, and then I think it's gonna spike back up, especially after when this next set comes out.
Is it green steel or green purple?
I mean, green in general.
Green in general, sure, yeah.
He said green steel. He meant just green.
I meant green, yeah.
Sure.
The green cards have been like pretty low. Like they took a dip because they were doing bad, and then I think they're gonna because
that new 4-drop that just dropped seems really intriguing.
Oh, I did not see it. What does it do?
4 mana, 2/4, inkable. I think it has ward. And
it does have ward.
Whenever you sing, what's the effect?
I think it's just play a song.
Oh yeah, it's whenever you play a song.
You get to kick Cloud Kicker. You get to return a carrot limmer with 2 or less of that attack stuff to somebody's hand.
What?
Right. Yeah, it's gross.
Wow.
And ward. Ward is such a busted ability.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is really, really busted.
Ward, ever heard of it? It's like, yeah, it's pretty good.
And it's good stat 2/4. What the heck?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, it's looking like it's about time for us to sign off. I wanted to invite you, Chris, to let people know where they can find you, and if you have anything to plug, your own podcast or a YouTube channel or your Twitter, just now's your opportunity.
Sure. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. My handle is _CHRAN_. CHRAN is spelled CHRAN. It's like the first 3 letters of my first name and the first 2 letters of my last name. And that's basically all I've got for socials right now. I don't really have like a YouTube presence or anything. I'm in a few Discords. I'm in Zant and I'm in your Discord. Usually you can find me in the Blue Red channel. And my Discord handle, I think in your Discord is CHRAN also.
Hell yeah.
In other Discords, I'm Thoth. It's spelled THCTH. It's just like a stylized C. So one of those 2 places. You could probably DM me on Discord if you want, Twitter, whatever. Yeah, if you got questions and stuff. I'm thinking about doing coaching. We'll see if there's demand for it, and if I've got the time. I do have the time for it, so we'll see if there's demand for it though. But I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's basically where you can find me.
All right, sounds good. We're a little disappointed it's Thoth because around here we like Kefnet, okay? Kefnet's like a better Thoth.
That's fair.
All right, and sign us off, Zan. Where can they find you?
At this YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah?
Join Club Lorcana if you want to get better at Lorcana, and what do you call it? If you want to get coaching from Granderson, message him, or you can put it in. There's people that have been messaging me for coaching in what is it called? we have a I can't remember it, but
We have a support ticket channel
yeah,
on Discord
support ticket
where you
channel.
can sign up for coaching.
Yeah. Just put a support ticket channel. Just say you want Cranderson, and then we'll hook you up.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Sweet.
Crazy way to make that deal, Zan, but that's why you're the leader of the Discord, I guess. And you guys can find me on Twitter at MoxJeremy, MOX, which legally we're not allowed to use. Jeremy, Jeremy. And this has been the Infinite Lorcana podcast. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.